Greetings! You're listening to revision recording number 1 from Unit 1 for GCSE Business Studies AQA. The first topic is about starting a business, and the first thing you need to know, quite logically, is what a business is. A business is any organisation that's set up to provide goods or services to customers. These customers could be the public, like you or I, it could be the government, or it could be other businesses. Businesses obviously do this for money, and the overall aim is to make a profit, and to make a profit usually for the owners to increase their wealth. An entrepreneur is somebody who starts their own business, and they might be somebody who's got quite a lot of initiative. They might be very determined, they've got a lot of get up and go, they're prepared to take risks, and all sorts of other quite lively attributes like that. Most people who start a business do it because they like to escape a boring job, or they've got new ideas. Many of them like to work from home or be their own boss. They like to be flexible, although it's worth noting that being your own boss can mean that you're working every hour available to make as much money as you can, or to actually get the business off the ground. Some people set up a business to benefit others because they want to help society, and that's obviously called a social enterprise. A social enterprise is where you're making a profit, but that profit's not necessarily going to make somebody rich, it's going to help other people. Or a social enterprise might employ people who can't get a job elsewhere, or help people in the local community. An important thing to do if you're going to set up a business is to try and find a gap in the market. If you do the same as everybody else, it's very hard then to actually have something that's going to be successful. But if you can find that gap in the market where somebody else isn't already doing it, then, and you've got a completely new idea or doing something different, then you've got a USP, a unique selling point, and you can be differentiated from what other people are doing. One way to find a gap in the market is to do a market map, where you put your high price and your high quality goods, and you map your low price and your low quality goods. Stakeholders in a business are anybody who's influenced by the business or has an interest in it. So it's not necessarily just the customers and the employees and the owners. It's people like the government, the local community, it might be the bank, it might be shareholders who actually own the business. Moving on to a business plan, very important for a business owner setting up to plan what they're going to do. What resources do they need? What people do they need? Do they need to employ anybody? Will they need to rent premises? They also need to do some finance. Work out if the business is viable. Am I actually going to make any money on selling these, whatever I'm selling? It might be that if they need a bank loan, the bank manager will want to see a business plan to see that the owner has actually thought about what they're going to do. And also it's very important that the owner takes a calculated risk, that they know, what are the risks of me setting up this business? Where could it fail? Have I thought about all of those things? So a business plan should include details of who's going to be running the business, the product, so what are we actually selling? Who are the competitors? What's the market like? Is it a growing market? Is it a market that's got lots of players in it already? What's our USP? What's the marketing mix? So that's product, price, promotion and place. And what market research have we already undertaken? It should also include, especially if it's a manufacturing business, what production is going to go on? Where's the business going to be located? What resources will it need? If it's a shop, will it need some kind of till system with barcode readers? Will it need security like alarms and that kind of thing? Who do we need to employ? And then, last but certainly not least, the finance. And this is something covered in a later topic. So cash flow, profit and loss forecasts. Really, really important to see if the business actually is going to be able to afford to run. And bear in mind, one of the biggest causes, well, the main cause of businesses going bust or going bankrupt is cash flow. So if a business can't plan its cash, then it may well fail. And the majority of new businesses do fail within the first year. But don't let that put you off. They all started somewhere. Now onto the really exciting bit. Legal structures for small businesses. If you're going to set up your business, you could just start off straight away trading, taking money from customers, providing them with goods or services, and keeping records. You will have to pay tax, whichever structure you choose. However, if you just set up straight away, start trading, this is called a sole trader. The owner keeps the profits. It all goes through possibly even the owner's bank account. However, and the big drawback of this is that if the business fails, then the owner is personally responsible for any debt. So if the business has paid out for vans or equipment, then it's the owner's responsibility to pay for that. And it means that anybody who you owe money to can come and get it. They can turn up at your house and say, oh, that's a nice flat screen TV. I think I'll take that. And this is called unlimited liability. So it means that the owner is liable for the debt of the business. This is the same situation for a partnership. A partnership might be that you've got a friend, you've both got a good idea, you say, let's set up in business together. That's a partnership. The good things about that are you can both put money in together. The risk is shared. You can bounce ideas off one another. If one of you is not available, then the other one can be there. If one of you is good at a certain element of the business but not so good at other things, then obviously there's two of you to sort it out. However, the situation is exactly the same with any debt, that if you're a partnership, you have unlimited liability. So if there's any debt owed by the business, you and your partner are personally responsible. What about if you fall out with that business partner? That happens. That's very, very common. You know, business isn't going so well. One of you thinks you should do this. The other one thinks you should do something completely different. And that's where problems can arise with a partnership. However, in both situations, sole trader or partnership, at any stage, you can decide to become, or to set up, a limited company. Now this means that the company is completely separate from you as a person. It means you've set up a legal, separate trading entity. And this is where the company will have limited LTD at the end of its name. And this means it's limited because the liability is limited. So if the business fails and there's debt, nobody can come and take your flat screen TV, your Xbox, whatever, because the debt is owned by the business and not by you. So that's the big difference. It can look more professional if you're a limited company. So if you're trying to get people to do business with you, if you're a limited company, they think you're okay, yeah, this is a proper company, this is the real thing. And a bank might say, okay, they really mean business, we can lend them some money, or we will let them open a bank account. It's slightly more complicated to set up a limited company. You've got to register your company at somewhere called Companies House, and there's some paperwork to fill in. And then you do need to employ an accountant to do your financial records, which then have to be sent off to Companies House once a year. However, it's not incredibly expensive to set up. An accountant can be quite costly, and it's worth noting here that you cannot set up a PLC from scratch. You have to be a limited company first, and you have to be a limited company of a large size before you can turn into a PLC and start selling shares publicly. But we'll deal more with PLCs later on in the course. Now, another way to set up a business is to buy into a franchise. Now this is quite a good idea if you haven't got a brilliant new idea but you quite fancy setting up a business. A franchise means that somebody else has done a lot of the hard work for you. They've already got a brand name, they've already set up marketing support, they've probably got training that they can give you, they've probably got branding and posters and all sorts of things that they can supply to make your business look better. The downside of that is that you have to pay quite a lot of money up front. It can be thousands and thousands of pounds, ranging from about 20 grand for a small franchise to 150,000 for a McDonald's franchise. On an ongoing basis, you'll have to give some of your profit to the franchisor, which is the people who own the franchise. If the company that you've bought into fails, so for argument's sake, Subway goes under. I mean, I don't think that's very likely, but then your business might actually fail as well, although you still own your business. So you could carry on trading as Submarine, for argument's sake. And also, you might have ideas how you'd like to run your business, but because you've bought into a franchise, you have to do what the franchisors say. However, in the long run, there is less chance of business failure because it's already tried and tested on customers. Another thing to consider when you're setting up in business is the location of the business. There's various things to think about. Obviously, how close do you need to be to your customers? Is it a business where the customers need to come to you, or you need to get to your customers? Or, for example, if you're providing an online service, doesn't really matter. You could be sitting up near the North Pole as long as you've got a good internet connection. Do you need to be near your suppliers? If you're selling very heavy goods, then I don't know, say you need coal shipped in, then you probably want to be near a colliery because you don't want to be paying the transport costs of shipping coal across the country. Do you want to be near your competition? Some businesses like to be near the competition, some want to be miles away. Again, it depends on the business. Cost of the premises. How much does it cost to rent the buildings where you would be? And how much are you going to have to pay to the local council in rates, business rates? Transport links. Do you need to be near a motorway? Have you got lots of goods that need shipping out? Think about Magna Park in Lutterworth, where you've got the big distribution centres like Next and George at Asda. And then there's historical factors. Places like Derby, where they've traditionally done a lot of engineering, the local colleges supply courses for school leavers in engineering and support the apprenticeships that those companies offer. Moving on to business aims and objectives. An aim is what are we going to do? An objective is how are we going to get there? A good way of remembering some easy small business aims and objectives is to remember that little acronym PIGS. Think about PIGS: profit, increase market share, growth and survival. So obviously a small business aims to make a profit. It aims to increase its market share, which is tied in with growth. It wants to grow, and obviously it wants to survive because as we already know, many small businesses don't survive past that first year. Objectives, how are we going to get there? Think about SMART targets, and these are used widely across the world of work. SMART targets are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic and time-bound. And I'll give you an example of a target that isn't. I want you to improve your results. That's not particularly specific, it's not measurable, it's not time-bound. I want you to be getting a grade B in your tests by the end of July. That's specific, it's measurable, it's time-bound, and hopefully it's achievable as well. Growth would be an increase in sales. Just going back to the pigs there, growth would mean an increase in sales, market share or profit. Market share is what percentage of the total sales of that product have you got. And then obviously sales is the amount sold by units or the value sold in pounds. So it could be your sales are you've sold 500 pairs of shoes that month, or you've sold £1,000 worth of goods that month. And that is the first topic of Unit 1 of your GCSE. Good luck in whatever you're revising for.